Good morning, everyone. We've got a very special chapter. This chapter is chapter 35. And this chapter in Tanya could answer perhaps the advantage of our generation. We always seem to look down at our generation, including expressions like, we are not worthy for the redemption, for the Geula. We are not worthy for the coming of Mashiach. We don't serve Hashem in the same ways that our fathers did. We definitely do not reach the level of the righteousness of the tzaddikim from 100, 200, 500 years ago. And today the Alter Rebbe is going to speak to us specifically about that topic, explaining what Hashem exactly, part of the service of Hashem. We've got to understand, what does Hashem really want from us? What is his desire? This is, by the way, an introduction to the several chapters that we will be learning, chapter 36 and 37, also a bit of 38, explaining why did Hashem create the world in the first place. It's a very interesting question. That is, sometimes, people don't really ask the question. Science doesn't ask that question. Science only deals with what we have in front of us, not philosophical questions like, why was it created in the first place? As well as, is there a purpose to us being here? We'll understand, according to those chapters, the purpose. If we understand why Hashem created, so we can also understand, okay, so what do we fulfill? What is our mission when we are here in Hashem's creation? So before that, we're going to be learning about the difference between the neshama and the actual mitzvot of Hashem. The neshama and the mitzvahs that Hashem basically commands us to do. There was a person that lived here in the area in Rechavia, and his last name was Chachanover. There are two Chachanovers. I think they're brothers or cousins. One is Chatan Pras Israel. He got the prize of Israel, the prize of the state of Israel. And another one was originally from London, and he was an advisor to many, many Israeli prime ministers, mainly with foreign relations, with European countries, with the United States. And he visited the Rebbe very often. Very often. He was one of the people that also shared with the Rebbe what's happening in Israel, and also got advice from the Rebbe. And during one of his early meetings with the Rebbe, he asked the Rebbe, what is the tafkid? What is this title of a Rebbe? What does that mean? So the Rebbe told him the title of the Rebbe, or the job of the Rebbe, is to light up the souls of Am Yisrael. So he asked the Rebbe, well, did you light up my soul? The Rebbe said, no, but I've given you the match, the lighter. And that is very interesting. First of all, it's a very creative question to ask. And also, the Rebbe gave him a very interesting reply that involves two parts. One is that, yes, the Rebbe is here to inspire our neshamot, to inspire us, but it's not fully in his hands. He gives us the opportunity, he gives us the message, he gives us perhaps a certain mission that we can carry out. We can do that, but it's up to us, it's in our hands. We have the decision, the ultimate decision. And it's a great lesson, because this is very much in many fields in life. We cannot rely on others. That's not part of our mission in the world. Adam la'amal yivaled. His cousin was very inspired by Kfar Chabad, because if you visited Kfar Chabad, it's like a small style of a village, a moshav style. And even until this day, people have fields that they farm. There's a very famous esrog, how do you say, pardes? Not a field, it's a...
orchard.
Sorry? Orchard, yeah, that's the word, thank you. Of esrogim, that's where they grow their esrogim of Kfar Chabad, and you can buy them in Yerushalayim, you can buy them all over the world. So... today it's a bit less. There used to be like a farm and things like that. Today it's much less. But he was very inspired because of the people that the Hasidim, they were Hasidim, and they used to go and they used to work in the fields. So, Adam la'amal yivaled, yes, at the end of the day, the Shita of Hasidut Chabad is to work and to work on our avodas Hashem, service of Hashem. We've got to put a lot of effort into it. There was once I read from the Rashimas of the Rebbe. The Rebbe has several books, but one of these books that was only revealed after the Rebbe passed away, this was 1994. Basically, in one of the drawers of the Rebbe, they found hand writing of the Rebbe. The Rebbe wrote to himself. Some of them were just divrei Torah that he gave. This we're talking about before he became the leader of Chabad, while he was still in Europe. And they are known as the Rashimas of the Rebbe. The Rashimas means the writings, the footnotes of the Rebbe. And over there, the Rebbe, a lot of the things are his personal quotes, but a lot of them are quotes that he heard from his father-in-law or from the Rebbe Rashab, who is the father of his father-in-law. And one of the quotes over there is from the Rebbe Rashab. The Rebbe Rashab says that we should have taken the levushim, which is the garments of Chasidus Poilin, of the Polish Chasidus, which is all the rest of the Chasidus. If you walk in Mea Sharim, or if you walk in Geula, or even if you walk in Makor Baruch, and sometimes you might even see it over here. The Hasidim on Shabbos and Yom Tov, they dress with a shtreimel, they dress with a kapota, they dress with sometimes it's white stockings, very interesting special shoes, very interesting levushim, outfits. Sorry?
Attire.
Yeah. Attire, yeah. And you know that according to Hasidus Poilin, this is part of this service of Hashem. Why? Because sometimes the environment has a big, big influence on your emotional feeling. So if you, and the students of the Arizal were the first ones to put this to test. Said, you know what, we've got to try and test it. They decided Shabbos is, we know Shabbos is Shabbos, but they said, you know what, we are going to celebrate Shabbos on Wednesday. So Tuesday afternoon, they get ready, they go to the mikveh, they do the toyameha, they taste a bit of the foods of Shabbos. Of course, they prepared the foods for Shabbos. They went to the mikveh and they got dressed in the Shabbos clothes. And they said that they felt a holy feeling. They felt the mamish, it's like the environment of Shabbos. And I think that if we would do that same test, we would even be more influenced than them. Because for us today, we don't understand and we don't really feel the true holiness of the internal high lights and levels of Kedusha when it comes to Shabbos. But we can very much feel the delicious food or the outfits that we wear.
That was in Tzfat.
And that was in Tzfat. Yes, that was in Tzfat. They went out to the fields of Tzfat. They said the Kabbalat Shabbat, and yes, they felt a holy feeling. So why is that? Why does that work in this way? We'll see also a bit about it in this chapter of Tanya. Why does it work? Why is it so technical?
Auto-suggestion.
Sorry?
Auto-suggestion.
What do you mean?
It's a psychological...
Right.
Word.
A certain, yeah.
Word.
Yeah. Why does it work in that way? Shouldn't it be that only if you feel the holy lights of Shabbos, then By the way, it says that Be'emet, and Amaretz doesn't lie on Shabbos, which means even a simple person that doesn't really follow the ways of Yiddishkeit, on Shabbos, he does not lie. It's an interesting, a minute after Shabbos, he could lie. On Shabbos itself, he doesn't. That's interesting. That's one of the holy ideas by Rabbi. So we're going to see also about that in the words of the Alter Rebbe. So back to the Rebbe Rashab. The Rebbe Rashab said that Chabad, we don't put an emphasis on the levushim. And if you take a look, but we do. we put an emphasis not to put an emphasis.
No, you put an emphasis. Stop.
Okay. If you see the Hasidim, the older Hasidim, Kfar Chabad or any other place, they go with colored shirts. They go with, working pants, working shoes. And this is, and if we go even further back to the times of Russia, they used to wear like Ovadia, like Ephraim, like a casquette. That's what they used to wear. There was no hat. Reb Mendel Futterfass, the biggest mashpia in yeshiva in Kfar Chabad, how did he go? With a casquette. What was a casquette? It was what every Russian used to wear in Russia. They all wear. You go today to Russia, you'll see. By the way, I was once in the shul in Marina, Russia. It's a very beautiful shul, very big, very nice. And all the Jews there are with a casquette. The older Jews without a beard, with a beard, the young Bochrim, they also have a casquette. Very nice.
Now you have the Borsalino.
And now we have the Borsalino.
First of all, we're comrades, so don't. Go ahead. You told me to upgrade my hat. My question is, can it be blue, the hat? If I get it? Or does it have to be black to upgrade? You told me to upgrade.
The pink. You do put.
Sorry? So today it became more formal, yes. This is one of the things, by the way.
White shirt, black pants.
Yeah, it became much more formal. Why? I'll tell you why. Because in Israel, it becomes...
Also outside Israel.
But outside Israel, it's a bit more open, but it's all part of the of what started over here in Israel. All because of what happens here.
Started in America.
What, the white shirt and the black pants?
No. The Borsalino and the not the tie if you are not married and this and that.
Yeah.
It's a whole system.
It's a system, but it mainly started in Israel because
black shoe.
I'll tell you, one of the things that happened in Poland, by the way, yes, they always used to go with very unique outfits. And this is what the Rebbe Rashab says, that he envies the Polish Hasidim, the Hasidim of Gur, of Belz, of Vizhnitz, all these Hasidiyot, that it's a big part of their service of Hashem. Why? Because it has an influence. Yes, for sure. It's got a hashpah. That's a story of Shabbos. And we know this is Rabbi Yochanan. It starts in the Gemara. The Gemara says, man, mechabdusa. Rabbi Yochanan says, what is the honor of a person? His clothes.
Something nice. Not that. Nice.
Oh, nice.
You have a nice, if I consider that blue shirt, the nicest I have,
yes,
I put the blue shirts.
Right.
And if I go to here,
yes,
you can Shabbos with the blue shirts. Yes.
Right. So yeah, for each one, definitely, it's something that's subjective. You can decide what's nicest for you. In certain, I'll tell you, in Israel, first of all, there it's very specific what was nice then, and they keep the tradition of what was nice then. Today, and by the way, it's not the same clothes that they used to wear for 1,000. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't wear those clothes. They, in that time, it was very high class to what you can see, who looks similar to the Hasidim? The kings of Europe of 500 years ago, 600 years ago. Right? With the white socks that went all the way till the knee, and with one scarf and another scarf and a white scarf, so beautiful to see all kinds of colors of the jackets. Yeah. So today it's a bit different, and part of the reason is because everyone came to Eretz Israel. And by the way, this is the shita of the Dati Leumi, of the Mizrachnikim, that they have a certain style. That yes, they say there's no reason. A lot of them used to wear black and white, but they say here we're in Israel. We don't have to separate ourselves from the others. We are all one. So yes, a lot of things changed. Everything had to become more formal and more restrictions, because you had to keep the uniqueness of your Chassidut or of your style, etc. So that's where things became, like in yeshivas today. By the way, in Chabad yeshivas, there used to be up to 30 years ago, 40 years ago, people used to wear colored shirts as well. But what happened? Then, and the Bochrim, when there's more plenty, so it becomes more of a problem. The Bochrim, they went to Zara, and now they want they want the best shirt. Then it came from a natural point, I use what I have, but not as to embrace fashion and to put an emphasis on fashion. It's a bit off topic. Let's get back to, okay. We'll get back, and this is all connected to the idea of what we spoke about, that the Torah does tell us, yes, let's make an effort to fulfill the mitzvahs of Hashem, which seem to be very, very technical, similar to the levushim, to the garments. Chapter 35, let's start with the first paragraph, and I want to ask Mordechai to please read for us the first paragraph.
Let us elucidate further the term to do it. Let us also understand in a very small measure the purpose of the creation of intermediates and the descent of their souls into this world to be clothed within the animal soul, which is derived from the klipa and sitra akra, since they will not be able to banish her, the animal soul, throughout their lives, nor to dislodge her from her place in the left part of the heart, so that none of her impure fancies should rise to the brain, inasmuch as the very essence of the animal soul derived from the klipa remains in the intermediates in her full strength, and might as at birth, except that her garments do not invest their bodies, as discussed above. If so, why have their souls descended into this world to labor in vain, God forbid, to wage war throughout their lives against the evil nature, which they cannot vanquish?
So this is a powerful, powerful question. Now, Rebbe is basically saying what perhaps we always think about, what we perhaps feel. And now Rebbe basically tells us that after understanding that there's a big, big separation between tzaddikim, between Rishayim, and between Beinanim, and what we can actually strive to become is not to reach the level of a tzaddik, not to become a tzaddik, but however, we can become Beinanim. What does a Beinanim mean? That he will always need to fight this war against the Sitra Achra.
Yes, speaking of becoming.
Yes.
He speaks of creation. The second line.
Right. Okay. Right. Hashem created us in such a way that we can become. So the question is two. The question is, first of all, why does Hashem create it in this way? We won't see the answer over here. The answer will be chapter 36, chapter 37. But why does he want Bechirach of Shit? Right. He gives us the Bechirach of Shit, and perhaps that's the essence of our mission, that we have free choice. We can decide to do good or bad. He wants us to do good. And not only that, but we will never be able to ultimately always do good. We will always face the Yetzer Hara. He's going to knock on the door at 8 a.m. and he's going to knock on the door at 8 p.m. So what is the point of all of this? And by the way, what he says is that we comfort. We need to comfort the person, that the Beinani, the intermediate man. We've got to comfort him, and we've got to tell him, know that what you are doing is not in vain, but Hashem gains a lot of nachas out of that. It's only, and that Hashem rests within their Torah and their tefillah. Hashem is with them in this combat, in this battle. We want a victory, right? It's like what's happening today, that it seems like it's very, very hard to get rid of the Hamas. So it's basically the equivalent of us telling the soldiers, you won't be able to win over the Hamas, but we are with you in this war, and this war is justified. So the soldiers will continue fighting, and this is why the Beinoni does continue fighting. And that's why we also continue to fight and to stand against the Yetzer Hara, against the evil inclination. But if we have the opportunity to win, why not to enable such a situation? Why not to make it possible? Why did Hashem lechatchila create the world in such a way that we won't be able to have an ultimate victory? Against Hamas, we could have. They just got to use the right force.
The same why was he allow the Holocaust? But why did he allow over the sun? Same thing.
Right. So
why he allow us to have a victory?
That is right. So that is another question. It's very similar, but it's a bit different because that's a question. Why does Hashem allow bad to happen in the world?
Yeah.
Right. Here, we're not saying that it's bad. We're saying that it's a struggle. Why does Hashem give us this constant struggle that we have to face every single day, every single moment? What is the purpose in this struggle? So it's slightly different, right? There's one question, why did Hashem allow bad to happen, bad things to happen? That's a question we spoke about in chapters 26, 27. Here the question is, what is the purpose of our struggle here in the world? Why did Hashem create the world to be in such in such circumstances that will cause us not to win over the Nefesh HaBahamis? We cannot. If a person tells you that he became a tzaddik, that he beat the Nefesh HaBahamis, he's lying. We're humans. Part of being humans is that we have an animal soul. Only very, very few people can win that. That's the tzaddik. So let's see. Let's continue. So, yeah.
We are born in the He wouldn't create us raw. Right.
Yeah.
He wouldn't create us that.
But the tzaddik has been created that way.
He's created us. We're created as individuals. No one is created at the lowest raw level. Correct.
So it's a question that is brought right at the beginning. It does say that Eov said, "Barata tzadikim, barata reshaim." What does it mean? Okay, we're not talking about the other nations. We're talking specifically about the Nishmas Israel. But it's a good question. By the way, it says about Ishmael, he's one of those that Hashem regrets creating. Very interesting. Four things Hashem regrets.
The two Jewish in Egypt. What's the name?
Datan v'Aviram. Right. Yeah. So again, the question is, what does it mean? Barata Rashaim. You create. It says about Esav, for example. Esav is a typical example for the way that people were created. Was Esav a Rasha? We all call him Esav a Rasha, but initially was he a Rasha? No. He kept mitzvahs until the age of 13 under the influence of his grandfather Avram. The day that Avram passed away, Esav Yatza l'tarbus ra, he left the ways of Hashem. He used to, and the Midrash says that whenever Rivka used to go close to a place that they worship idols, he wanted to go out. Doesn't mean that he was evil. He was born with a Yetzer Hara that had a temptation to do bad. So to answer your question, Yaakov was born a tzaddik, Ish Tam Yoshev Adim. Esav was born like any other person that has that's human.
But the greatest line,
yeah.
Tanya is in the Bereshit when Yaakov says, Yitzhak, I am Yitzhak.
I am Esau. Right. That's interesting. It's a very interesting point. It's not brought in Tanya, this, as an answer. But yeah, but it's a very interesting, it's a good connection, right? I am Esau. He wasn't totally lying. He's Esau, like everyone else. We are all Esau. We all have this little Esau within us.
As a matter of fact, he fought with himself. The Malach was his Yetzer Hara.
Right.
He's part of himself.
Right. And what does it say about Esau? No, but for sure, the Rebbe explains. It's very interesting. Where is the power for Balei Tshuva? Everything that we have today is because of our patriarchs. Everything that we have today is because of our forefathers. Mesiras Nefesh that we all have, the Mesiras Nefesh of the holy people that were in that Mesibat Teva, in that party, that comes from Avraham Avinu. Why? Because Avraham Avinu was the first to do it. And the first one that does it, he gives the power to the people that come after him, right? It's like a family that it's a third generation that they are in a certain business. So for the third generation, sometimes it's very easy. But why is it very easy? It's because the first generation worked very, very hard. So where did our first generation work in terms of teshuvah? Avram didn't need to do teshuvah. Yitzchak didn't need to do teshuvah. Yaakov didn't need to do teshuvah. The Rebbe says an amazing idea. The Rebbe says that Esav had the potential of doing teshuvah. Esav represents the idea of Balei Tshuva. He didn't succeed in doing teshuvah. At the end, doesn't say that. Yes, but that shows again of his potential. It doesn't say that he succeeded to do teshuvah. He didn't, but that was part of his lifestyle. And again, it says Rashai Melem Charatos. The Rashayim, the evil people, they are full of regrets. Full of regrets. Why did I do this? Why did I do that? That's our story. That's our story, in short. That's the story of Esau. That's what happened to him. Probably he went to sleep and he said, why did I do this? That's a Baal Tshuva. So he wasn't able to fully go back on track. But definitely in his lifetime, he was in this process. But the question that the Alter Rebbe challenges us with is why? Couldn't Hashem create a perfect world, a world where everyone has the potential to become a tzaddik? Or perhaps not only the potential, but everyone is born as a tzaddik? Why not? What's wrong with such a world? Adam la'amal yivaled. Part of the definition of the world being here is labor. If you know that something comes easy, it will go easy. If you get a product for free, you are the product. Right? And today it's even more so with all the technology. Why do we use social media? Why is social media free? Why can we use WhatsApp for free, or Facebook, or Instagram? All they want is for you to sign up. If you don't sign up, they're not going to let you. But the moment you sign up, you're good to go. Why? Where's the money over there? The advertisement. And they advertise to you what you are interested in. How do they know what you're interested in? Because they see what you search, what you browse, surf, etc. And they know, okay, this is what he's interested in. I'm going to promote all these advertisements on his page. He'll click on it. And the moment he clicks on it, I can charge the advertisers. So that is the story of Olam Hazeh, in also in Avodas Hashem, servicing of Hashem, but also general work, general labor. That's the part of the Avodah. So let's see over here a great lesson that is based on the Zohar. And I want to ask Avram, please, to read for us. This is the second paragraph.
But let this be their result, to comfort them doubly and hopefully, and to gladden their heart in God, who dwells with them in their Torah and divine service, To quote, by way of preface, the comment of the Yinka, Zohar Padishah Palah, on the verse, the wise man's eyes are in his head. What else are a man's eyes? But the interpretation of the verse certainly is as follows. We have learned that a man must not walk 4 cubits barefoot. The reason is that the Shekhinah rests on his head, and a wise man's eyes and everything he possesses are in his head, for example, in him who rests and abides above his head. And if his eyes are there, he must know that the light which shines above his head needs oil. For the body of a man is a wick, and the light is kindled above it. And King Solomon cried, saying, Let there be no lack of oil above thy head. For the light on a man's head must have oil, meaning good deeds. And this is the meaning of the phrase, the wise man's eyes are in his head.
Thank you. So this is very interesting. First of all, we can typically see that this is the Zohar, because it's not really understood fully. But generally speaking, the point of the Zohar here in Parshas Balak is to say that a wise man's eyes are in his head. What does he mean by that? He means that you've got to pay attention to your head. For that reason, for example, we've got to go with a kippah. Why? Because we go with a kippah, it means we are paying attention to our head. And he says, then he brings the parable of King Solomon, that the head of the person is like a wick. And a wick by itself won't stay lighting for long, right? The way to provide fuel, or here in this case oil, is through good deeds. And this is the idea, that if we want our flame to continue living forever, and this is why he quotes that at a certain point, a wise person moves to the next world. He passes on to the next world. And what does he take with him? Only what he has in his head. And here he explains, what does that mean? This is the shemen, this is the oil. These are the good deeds that we do. The ma'asim tovim that we do, this is our oil. So going back to the story of the Rabbi and Mr. Chachanover, what basically the Rabbi told him is, yes, you have a high potential, you've got a wick, but you've got to make sure to light that wick. I can give you the match that can help you light it, but you've got to make sure that there is oil over there. You've got to make sure that you continue doing good mitzvahs. Because the moment you continue doing good mitzvahs, you let the flame burn longer and longer, which means it's not enough to have a wick. And this is why if we take a look, here is one of the points Alter Rebbe is going to speak about also. Why do we have to always work and service Hashem? There's a Yid that he is born with a neshama, and he's got a very special soul. It's not enough to have a special soul. We've got to be able to nurture the soul. We've got to be able to make sure that this soul's flame does not distinguish. How do we do that? With adding oil. What is the oil? The oil is good deeds, ma'asim tovim. This is from the Zohar, and now we are starting to understand the importance. Soon we'll see why, but we are starting to see the importance of mitzvahs. Technicalities, that they are very technical actions that we do, but these are the ma'asim tovim that King Solomon is referring to. So whenever a person does a mitzvah, he can take into account 2 things. That he's taking care of his head. He's making sure that his eyes are in his head, which means he pays attention to the soul and he quenches the soul's thirst. He adds oil to the flame. That's the message here from this part of the Zohar. Soon we'll see a bit more about it. Yes.
It seems here, in general, that what we read in general applies to everybody, let out the tzaddikim, but to the Benonim.
Yeah.
But everybody has got a different scope.
Right.
Life. I'll make an example. I know personally of a person who went to the Rebbe, and he told the Rebbe, I'm not religious. The Rebbe answered, I did not ask you to be religious. I asked you to help my people.
Wow.
Which is different of what we did here.
First of all, it's a very interesting expression of the Rebbe, because I don't remember many ways that the Rebbe spoke like this, but this is very interesting. So
I know it directly.
Yeah, so okay, so it's confirmed. It's very interesting there. But sometimes, so there are several ways. First of all, why does it not really fit into what we see over here? Let's say a person, when he supports or helps his people, Yisachar, yeah. Zvulun, yeah. So in other words, there are different ways for sure in serving Hashem. And what about a person that lives?
Doesn't speak of this here.
You're right. It doesn't. Let's say it doesn't go into details of what Ma'asim Tovim a person does. He doesn't specify. So he says Ma'asim Tovim, right? Mitzvahs, yeah. But each one. So two things. First of all, the one that can tell you, and this is the whole idea of a Rebbe in a generation. And last night I was thinking about it a lot. Why do we need a leader for the generation? Can't we base ourselves on the scripts, on the writings? Sometimes the leader of a generation gives us a specific mission for our generation. And not only for our generation in general, but for individuals as well. Part of a person's mission is to find out what does Hashem want from him in the world. And as we know, we cannot do everything. We should try our best, but in reality, we cannot bring offerings. What can we do? We cannot bring offerings. And a person that was born in Russia, when the Iron Curtain was still there, probably he couldn't really keep most of the mitzvahs. He couldn't keep Shabbos. So so this reminds me of a great story of Reb Mendel Futterfass. Reb Mendel Futterfass basically was in Siberia for several years. And people there, you could find officers of the Tsar army, you could find intellectuals, doctors, artists, philosophers, psychologists, all of those, and you could find also priests and rabbis. All of those people were known as counter-revolutionaries, which means they were against the revolution of the Soviet Union. They were all sent to Siberia. And when they came to Siberia, they were all very, very upset. They felt very down. Why? Because they had nothing to do. They imagine a psychologist. Perhaps a psychologist could sit between himself and analyze things that are happening, but he cannot publicize articles. He cannot teach people. What about the architect that was over there? He cannot work. What about the priest that has no one to talk to? So they felt that they aren't fulfilling their mission. So they came to Reb Mendel and they told Reb Mendel, why are you all the time happy? And Reb Mendel, I'll tell you a secret, big chance that he didn't have tefillin. Big chance that he couldn't eat matzah. So he wasn't fulfilling the mitzvahs that a 13-year-old kid in Israel or in Belgium or in New York fulfilled. Why could he be happy? Because this is what Hashem wants for him currently in his situation. This is his potential. So he is doing the full amount of what he can. There's nothing wrong with what he's doing. He doesn't have matzah. What can he do? Now,
we don't speak of all this here.
Okay, so similar to that, so it says generally that you have to do good deeds. Each person according to his capabilities.
Okay, one sentence, 3 words.
Sorry?
sentence of 3 words in a book of so many chapters.
Yeah, you're right. That's why, by the way, one of the things that the Alter Rebbe writes in the introduction is that if anyone has a question on what it says over here, he's got to speak to Anash, to the rabbis of that town in any generation. Because a big part of understanding what the Alter Rebbe writes here is also understanding what does that apply to me? What does that mean? Now, in reality, it's like telling, okay, you've got to now start keeping all the mitzvahs from A to Z. No. Many times, this is not the instruction. And another reason is that sometimes when we say to a person, you've got to become religious, you've got to become observant, it sounds very scary. But if you tell him, no, you just got to do 1, 2, 3, makes it much easier. Okay, that's it. And he doesn't even know, but that's the meaning of becoming religious. But the real answer, that's not the real answer. The real answer is that every soul has a mission in the world. Sometimes, most times, we are able to fulfill it. Sometimes we are aware of it. But one of the ways to know what our mission is to ask the Rebbe. Another way, and this is words that the Rebbe said, is to know what we have a potential of. A person has a certain skill, a certain talent in a certain field. That is his mission. The Rebbe never told people to change their occupation. The Rebbe told them to use their occupation to serve Hashem. There's a great professor that he was, it's the first time I've heard of an epidemiolog. We heard it during Corona time, because Corona time there was the whole dealing with viruses and things like that. So Professor Yekusiel Green, who was an epidemiolog for NASA, and they investigated, they wanted to find life in space. So they had to find whatever it was, things that they needed an epidemiolog for. It's interesting. That was his field. The Rebbe never told him to change. He wanted to go to Eretz Yisrael. He wanted to move to Israel to study Torah in Yerushalayim. The Rebbe said, no, stay in your field and in that field. That is your mission. He's not going to be learning now 12 hours a day. But that's not his masim Torah. That's not the oil that he has to use. Each car has a different fuel. That's it. Let's continue. Let's see a bit more. Ephraim, you wanted to ask something before?
Let me see. Yeah, look, I don't know where it's applicable now. But at some juncture, I was going to say, when we were kids, we used to say, why is a crooked letter and you can't make it straight?
Yeah.
And we never see asking questions. Why? There's never an ending to the last question of why.
Right.
Another one follows and says, but why is it because of that?
Right. So, it's a very good point, yeah.
It's like going nowhere in a way.
Right. So another, has to do with another idea. Judaism, we are not afraid of questions. A big part of the Jewish life is questions. In the Gemara, during Leila Seder, which is the night, which is one of the most special nights in our life circle, around the year, Leila Seder sitting together, we ask questions. We're not afraid of questions. And the Alter Rebbe is not afraid of questions. He asks many harsh questions. Why? If we are able to set a bar and tell ourselves that has nothing to do with my Kabbalah soil, which means with me accepting the yoke of Hashem, well, in that case, it's okay to ask questions. We can ask questions, and we can even perhaps stay without an answer, but it's not going to convince us not to follow Hashem's mitzvahs. These are two different levels. I fulfill the mitzvahs. It's like a person flying on the aeroplane, and he's very curious how the aeroplane works. So he says, how does this work? How does that work? But it doesn't mean that he's not going to fly until he has all the answers. He'll go into the aeroplane, you fly, you continue flying. You want to understand how it works. You want to understand why this, why, okay, you can ask. Sometimes you'll have an answer, sometimes you won't. Let's continue. This is the fourth paragraph. And I want to ask Ephraim, please, to read for us.
Which one is it?
One before that.
The explanation.
Yes, the explanation.
The explanation of the figure whereby the light of the pillar is compared to the flame of a lamp which produces no light, nor clings to the wick without oil. And likewise, the spinner does not rest on a man's body, which is likened to a wick, except to the good things of love. And it is not sufficient that the soul, the Shema, which is part of godliness from above, should act for him as oil to the wick. It's clear and understandable to every intelligent person. No?
Yes, yeah. We'll stop here one moment. So here, what the Alter Rebbe tells us is that we have to have this oil, these masim tovim, in order to make sure that the neshama's flame, that his neshama's flame continues to light. And in other words, what the Alter Rebbe says is, no matter how great a person is, no matter what level he is, he could be a person that serves Hashem and he loves Hashem and he's got what's called a natural connection to Hashem, a natural bond with Hashem. It doesn't matter. You still have to keep them Torah and mitzvahs. And I'll give you an example for this in NACHLAOT Torah. There's, which is the revealed part of Torah, the halacha. So, are brothers allowed to testify together on the same case? No. Not allowed to. Makes sense. Right? Moshe and Aharon, they are brothers. Right? They are tzaddikim. Are they allowed to testify in the same case? No. They're also not allowed to. Why? Because the mitzvahs are always much higher than your own personal level of connection to Hashem. And this is why the Alter Rebbe says even a tzaddik needs to add oil to his wick. Even a person that loves Hashem so much, and it's like you sometimes meet a person who want to put on tefillin, says, no, I serve Hashem within my heart. It's a great message, and it's very nice, people that speak to Hashem in their language. But Hashem gave us channels to connect to Him. Hashem told us that if you want to refill the oil, you can do it in several ways. You can put on tefillah, you can do it with Shabbos, you can do it with tzedakah. There are many, many ways to do it, but the ways are the ways that I gave you. So this is basically what we're going to see over here, and this is the next paragraph as well. Let's continue with the next paragraph. Ovadia. This is the last paragraph on the first page.
It is that the neshama of a person, even if he be a perfect tzaddik, serving God with fear and love and delights, does not nevertheless completely dissolve itself out of existence so as to be truly nullified and absorbed into the light of God to the extent of becoming one and the same absolutely, but the person remains an entity apart, one who fears God and loves Him. It is different, however, with the commandments and good deeds, which are His blessed will. His blessed will is the source of life for all the worlds and creatures, flowing down to them through the many contractions and the concealment of the confidence of the supreme will. Blessed be He, and the recession of the levels until it was made possible for creatures to come into being ex nihilo, separate beings that should not lose their identity, as discussed above. The commandments, however, are different in that they are the inwardness of His blessed will, without any concealment of the confidence whatever. The vitality that is in them, therefore, is in no way a separate being, but is united and absorbed in his blessed will, and they become truly one with a perfect union.
Oh, yeah, Femo, thank you. So here we see in clear letters, there's a difference between the will of Hashem and there's and the level of our neshamas. The level of our souls, no matter on what high level we are connected to, it still is not the internal will of Hashem. The internal will of Hashem is what Hashem says, this is what I want. What makes a mitzvah special? We learn in the Hebrew program on Mondays, we learn the reasons of the mitzvahs, Tanya mitzvahs. What makes a mitzvah special? Why is a mitzvah special? Because of the reason behind the mitzvah? No. Why is it special? For one reason. It's because this is Hashem's will. And He's infinite. This is sometimes what we forget, that even if it's like what is closer to infinity? 100 or 1 million? No difference, right? It's not that 1 million is closer to infinity than 100. 1 million is closer to 100 million than 100. But infinity is a different, it's a different idea totally. And Hashem is truly infinite. And for that reason, to connect to Hashem, doesn't matter if your neshama is on the level of 1 million. What does it matter then? It matters if you fulfill His will, because He told you, do that and I will connect to you. So the moment you fulfill His will, that is His internal need. That's what He really wants from us.
So this is in itself.
What in itself? The mitzvahs?
The mitzvahs?
Yes.
So why is it necessary kavanah?
Oh, that's a very good question. So after we understand that the whole purpose is, by the way, the technicality of the mitzvahs, just to fulfill Hashem's ratzon, to fulfill His will, so why do we need meaning behind it? Why do we need the kavanot? By the way, a person that doesn't do it with a kavanah, he fully fulfilled the mitzvah. And a person that does it with all the kavanot, but he technically did not put on the tefillin, he doesn't do the mitzvah at all.
You tell it to Rabbi Weinberg.
So there is an important, Rabbi Weinberg is big into kavanah. So the answer is that there is one thing fulfilling Hashem's will, but there's another thing doing it with a smile. For sure, when a person has a meaning behind that, it adds a lot to the mitzvot. But if you ask, I'll tell you another example, right? When a person in tzedakah.
I give you tzedakah without a smile, but I give you tzedakah. Or I give you a smile without tzedakah.
Without tzedakah. So what is better? The tzedakah, the person can eat.
Yeah.
So that is why the technicalities of the mitzvot are much more important. And the kavanah is very nice. You can't compare a person that gives tzedakah with a smile to a person that gives tzedakah without a smile. But at the end of the day, the poor person is with a smile by itself, he's gonna go to sleep hungry. You can't eat a smile. But with tzedakah, then he can go to sleep full, satisfied. So this is the point. This is what he's saying, that the ratzon, the mitzvahs themselves, the neshama means the kavanas. And no matter on what high level your neshama is, no matter what high kavanas you're able to reach, according to the Arizal and the Rashash, it's not games. These are serious things, and they're very important. But with the mitzvahs, with the kavanas, you reach 1 million. With the mitzvahs, you reach infinity. Why? How can I reach infinity? That's what Hashem wanted. He sets the terms of the game. He decides how the chess game works. He decides how the soccer game works. It's His rules. And He says that if we do put on tefillin, then we connect to Him. So that's the connection. Why? Because He created all of this. When you play a chess game, or when you play football or basketball, any other game, someone else made up the game. You're just playing. You can't decide the rules. He created it, so therefore he can also decide the rules. So he decides that when we put on tefillin, we connect to infinity. We connect to him himself.
You don't have to feel the connection.
And you don't have to feel the connection. Yes. For sure it does add when you feel the connection and when you have the kavanas and when you understand the reason of the mitzvahs. And this is why the mitzvahs also do have a bit of an explanation. Not a complete explanation, but we can understand a bit about what is Spiras Omer, what is Purim, what is Pesach, what is Hanukkah. But that not is the ultimate purpose behind the mitzvahs. The idea is that it's the Ratzon, the will of Hashem.
But in a way, they were intended because Kavanaugh is mostly difficult.
Yes, yeah, could be. There is a certain explanation to that. On the other hand, people might look at it that without kavanah, okay, meaning the idea that the reason, the difference between but on the other hand, you're saying that it's easy and that's why Hashem gave it to us. So that's not the only reason. We will see the reason. There's something so special about technicalities, about materialism in our world, about the challenge. Kavanah. By the way, the forefathers, the mitzvahs of the forefathers were mainly kavanah. And that makes more sense. It's like telling a person, you can feel sad, but dance. And when you dance, that's you besimcha. Doesn't make sense. If you emotionally feel happy, that means that you are happy. As a result, you also express it in technical and material ways, such as singing, as dancing, etc. But be'emet, what is the true feeling of happiness? It's emotional. And that's the chiddush that the Alter Rebbe tells us here. No, that the most important part is the mitzvahs, because that's what Hashem wanted. Yishar koach, thank you very, very much.